Hey guys, Rabbit here, back with another Starcraft Broodwar Remastered cast, and today once again we are featuring Kwark on the channel. He is spawning here on Vermeer in the top left position, and his opponent is a blue Terran on the ladder, a random. We have no idea who he is. So we have a PVT for you from October 2022. This game was played live on stream, and Kwark was kind enough to share the replay with me, so thank you indeed for that. Okay, so a couple of things before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's game. First of all, the pollen count where I live today is apparently 60, which I've been led to believe is a high number. And that means it is going to be very, very difficult not to sniff. And I know sniffing is incredibly annoying, so if that does happen, I apologize in advance. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is, I watched a recent game of mine, and I say a shitload, and it is so annoying. So I had two thoughts on this one. First of all, I could do an counter, but I think that would just bring attention to the fact that this is so damn irritating, and stop doing that. Or just somehow figure out a way to stop saying So some ideas I had was maybe a shock collar. So every time I say it, I get shocked. That may create some electric issues in terms of feedback, and it could also be incredibly painful. But there we go, I just said But to avoid saying it all the time, I have to figure out a damn solution, because it is driving me nuts. And if it's driving me nuts, then I can only imagine it's driving the viewers nuts as well. Okay, so we have our Terran player who is just doing a standard Rex in a relatively forward position, and is doing a scout. Kwark on the side has just gone a standard core. I don't even see a zealot, so I think it's just a standard 13 core, and he's probably setting up for an expansion. The third thing, not that I originally said I had three things, was the hype moments. I've noticed I have a very high-pitched hype moment. So if I get excited, my voice goes all high, and I guess it's probably amusing to some extent, but also not. I don't know. Listening to it, I'm like, I don't think my voice normally sounds like this, but when I get excited, it gets a bit high-pitched, which is, again, probably a little bit annoying. So we're going to try and work on fixing some of these annoying habits over the course of the next few casts. I record really long in advance, so by the time people are hearing me say this, they probably would have experienced a lot of the irritation again and again. But we're constantly working on improving, which is why I've gone with this long-winded intro. Anyway, our Terran player has gone with a Rax expand, so quite economically aggressive. And Kwark has gone with a 20 Nexus, which is the before range. So a little bit more of the higher level modern meta in PvT is to skip the range and get the Nexus down and then start range. I said Also, what I see occasionally is the Robo comes in before range, but not this time. Just going with the range after Nexus, which does certainly give Protoss a little bit more power from an economic point of view, and help Kwark now actually keep tabs with this Rax expand, because Terran, in all honesty, is a little bit ahead now because of the aggressive economic open. The Kwark scout is coming back, reporting, alright Kwark, we had a Rax expand, so there isn't really any need to worry about early vultures, harassments, there's no 2-fax, there's no aggression. However, the onus is on you, Mr. Protoss, to make the running and to probably apply some pressure. So just floating our Rax here in to complete the wall, transferring his SCVs. I must say, a very crisp and good start from our Terran. Probably even game at this stage, or arguably a little bit of an edge for our Terran player. Gateway coming in, I'm pretty sure this is the Robo. The one advantage of this skipping goon range before Nexus is that your observer timing really is nice and crisp. I reckon we will have an observer in the Terran's base at around about 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes, which is absolutely perfect, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Alright, so no real action yet at this stage. It'll be interesting to see the build plan from our Terran. I have found a little bit of a pattern between a Rax expand and a 2-gate push. So the Terran will amass 5 factories and tend to skip out on some of the tech and not be too preoccupied with with upgrades initially, and we'll just look to get up a mass of factories. This supply depot placement is really interesting. I think this possibly makes the mining faster, because you see they're running in a straight line and kind of putting this gas in the side of the command center. That's super interesting. We see double shops here too, so it looks like a lot of tanks he wants to be able to produce and potentially start double upgrades. As I mentioned here, you can see at 5.5 minutes the first observer's on its way, so he's going to have vision of this tech tree really fast and be able to make any and all adjustments as he sees necessary. So third gateway coming in, so it looks like a 3-gate arbiter build from Kwark. If I could make a preemptive prediction, what we might see is the citadel. There it is. So your citadel comes at about 6 minutes, and then your second gas. So these both happen before the third, and that is a textbook sign that the Protoss intends going arbiters and trying to get a relatively fast arbiter for a 12-minute timing. So let's see if it pans that way. You can see my timing prediction on the observer was right, so we're 6 minutes and 15 seconds. That's pretty much on the money, so very nicely done by Kwark. I don't see any turrets. There's one here, but in terms of what the observer wants to see, he just basically wants to park here. He's going to check for a starport and check for the armory, which is here in the corner. So the sign here is actually that it's probably more likely a 3-base build from Terran. I think very soon he would have to explode his factory count for the timing push to have any effect. But Kwark has counted the number of factories as an observer, and he's like, I'm comfortable. I see 2 shops, so you don't have a lot of vultures on the map. I have some dragoons if I need to move them across anyway, so no real concerns at this stage. He's actually built 2 observers, and I've noticed this with Kwark, and I've noticed this with Bonneth. They build about 5 observers, and it's way more than what you're sort of taught to build when learning the game, but it really does give the Protoss player a lot of information and a lot of map vision. So third fac is on its way before the command center. So it does still seem like both options are on the table in terms of a timing push. It could be a +1 5-fac push on 2 bases. We will have to monitor the Terran build very closely over the next 2 minutes, because the timing push does need to come out at about 10 minutes, I think, or 9.5, 10 minutes is usually about the timing to make it effective. Our tank count at this stage is 1, 2, 3, and 2 vultures. So I don't think that that's the plan. I think it is going to be a little bit more of a submissive approach. Terran laying a mine here in expectation of where Kwark is potentially going to be taking his third. Probe transfer, I think he could do well to potentially move a few goons, and he does so, as I said, just into this choke here, and maybe one on this ramp. It's a little bit of a double entry point, which is annoying, but that being said, Kwark has walled it up quite neatly in anticipation of the vulture, so good sense of anticipation. Obviously one of Kwark's strengths, as he is a very well-known high S-rank Protoss player, known for having a really good brain for the game. Okay, so we have our 2 observers. One here, he's the move-out observer. Okay, so are we moving out? Are we expanding? And this one is the base monitor, going how many factories do we have? Third base is coming in. Okay, so as expected, he did just go up to the 3 facs. He is still on the 1 armory. I would expect pretty soon, now that the academy has come up, that he's going to go up to 2 armories. The starport is in place, so those double upgrades should be coming to effect as well. This build, in recent games that I've been observing, I have been casting and studying PvT a lot, does tend to give the Protoss player a window at around about 12 minutes where they can move in and potentially do a lot of damage, or even in the game, if the Terran player doesn't have sufficient tanks and really good mine placement. So that's going to be a very critical part of this game for our Terran, because Kwark seems to be massing up on 3 bases. So his arbiter tech tree is already complete. He's adding to his gate count. Just got the 1 forge going at the moment, so that it will probably just be a +1 timing. Let's have a look at where he is at the moment. So yeah, +1 is on its way. Arbiter is on its way. And in anticipation of what he's going to be facing, going up to 5 factories. Science facility is in place. Second armory is in place, but he hasn't got the upgrade going. I think that's a little bit of a slip from our Terran player. Perhaps just struggling to have enough money for absolutely everything he's wanting to be doing. He's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back, double upgrades. So you see this build a lot. The correct move now for the Protoss, understanding what he's facing with his observers, seeing the third place coming down. His observer is here, so he can see everything beautifully, is to then take a 4th, and then really swell his gate count to probably about 12 or more, and go from there. So Kwark sniffs the timing now, with his observers being where they are. I think he's had a look at the tank count, so let's have a look at this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tanks, and he's just moving down with a small pod of dragoons. He's got an arbiter. I don't know if this is a stage or if he's going to move in here. I don't think he's going to move in here. I don't think he quite has enough units, although here we go. So this is quite a... So the Zealots are now pushed in front. The mines, unfortunately, were not in a great position. The Zealots can basically run straight into these tanks. The mines are kind of all here on the side. The goons have gotten in and gotten on top here. I think they're going to be able to pick up. There's only 4 tanks down here. There's no deeper line. This is as deep as it goes. Yes, there is one on the high ground, but he could potentially pull away. So a little bit of a poke from Kwark just to put some pressure on those mines that connect, but mainly with each other, which is a little bit unlucky. The Arbiters coming here, giving good pokes, so it's going to tax the scanners, of which there are 1, 2 of our Terran opponents. It's picking off some SCVs, getting some values. Definitely not going to end the game here, but the idea is just to cause some damage, to pick off a few tanks, to pick off a few SCVs, and to put the Terran into a little bit more of a submissive stance. So this Dragoon is gone, and Kwark's not relenting with the pressure here. I think he wants these 2 tanks, and he's found an angle where he's quite comfortable. He stasis these 2, which unfortunately I missed. The Arbiter has been in position here the whole time, so that's really given him an opportunity to continue this pressure. He's moving further forward now with this Arbiter, but this missile turret's probably going to win the fight. Arbiters are useless fighters. I think Kwark would do well here to potentially slow down, although his main goal, which was to stop the mining on the 3rd, has happened, which is great play. This command center is probably going to get away and out of range of these goons. Kwark looking to potentially set up another sneak base here on the side, or maybe that probe was just a scouting mission. Still the scanners, because the arbiters are painful. Bringing another arbiter forward here, so unrelenting and a very, very profitable attack. So the objection there was to shut down the 3rd. He's done that. This has just been non-stop pressure from Kwark on this Terran player, who's basically lost a lot of his tanks. He's got 5 tanks left, 1 on the high ground, so 6 tanks. If a Terran wants to beat a Protoss player, they need probably 20-25 tanks, especially when the Protoss player is on 4-5 base power, a lot of gateways. He's got Arbiter tech. Very soon I expect Kwark could have Storm if he so chooses. But at this stage still looked like he's got the same tech tree. Has taken another base. So on 4 bases, interesting to see now if he's going to go on 5 or if it's just a denial strategy. So he's going to continuously be pushing units. He's going double arbiters at the moment, so 2 Stargates are online. These vultures were out of position. They were supposed to connect in front and not behind those tanks. The vultures though will fight pretty well against these zealots, of which that's pretty much all that's there. The tanks however couldn't fire because once again Kwark managed to get a stasis. His arbiter play has been really solid, just a very good basic demonstration of how to use arbiters for their 2 most powerful features, one for cloak and obviously the other one for stasis. And this unrelenting pressure is just really putting this Terran player on the back foot. A very straightforward demonstration on how to play PvT, but really well, doing basics really well. A fleet beacon is snuck in here, so possibly a tech switch. Let's count the number of Stargates. I think the fleet beacon might be, no, I was going to say it might be a diversion, but it's not. So the first carrier is coming in, a 3rd Stargate. So I think Kwark's decided the way to finish this game off is a carrier switch. I don't think our Terran player will necessarily see this coming, but that being said, it is in the corner of the base. I think if you were going to scan the tech, you'd probably scan here. To scan the corner here, maybe not, so he might get away with it. But also when you count multiple Stargates, where has he put his 3rd Stargate? Is my question. Okay, so he snuck a Nexus down here. Snell denying this base. He's just having such a hard time re-establishing this 3rd. And that is proving really challenging for this Terran player. Once again, floating his command center in, and the command center's got to float away. And while he's just preoccupying his opponent's attention in trying to get him to re-establish his 3rd, he is able to start pumping out 2 carriers at a time. I think these carriers are going to come as a total surprise. But we'll monitor the production tab. Goliath has started, so maybe our Terran player has seen this. But will he have sufficient numbers? I don't know. Once again, stasis to slow down the mech movement. I think eventually Terran is going to produce enough units to be able to take back this position, but it's all about time. The amount of time that Kwark has bought himself by just rallying down gateway units with arbiter support relentlessly to deny this 3rd, setting up another base of his own here, which is a little bit of a sort of a sneak surprise base. Taking another main, not the main here that the Terran would expect, which is where he sent his vultures to double check, but the main here in the corner is probably the last place that our Terran opponent would expect Kwark to expand. So that's very nicely done. Good trickery from our friend. This Dragoon is going to have a bad day, unfortunately. Alright, so circling around here, where is our observer? So our observer is here, just a little bit out of position because these dragoons are running headfirst into mines, which they don't really necessarily have to be doing. So he's pivoting around again to pressure this position, but I don't think he's going to move in here. This is now a lot of tanks, and the vultures are perfectly positioned in front of them to body block. So Kwark pulls away, consolidates his position, doing a very risky probe transfer literally to the other corner of the map. Only a couple of cannons here to protect this base and pretty much nothing else. Let's have a look at how many Stargates we have going. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is now a full-on carrier switch. Building 3 carriers out of the force, now 4 carriers. So pretty soon they're going to be carriers flanking this ground-based army and are going to take this position on, and I don't think our Terran player is going to be able to hold this. If we look at his production tab, he's not even producing units at the moment. The only thing he's producing is a vulture. Getting his upgrades going. He hasn't had both armories spinning all game. In fact, as I say that, this armory isn't spinning at all, so he's had no opportunity to play his game because he's been denied the space for so long. He needed the gas because he doesn't have the gas, and now he's actually only got 1 ACV on this gas, which I think is a mistake. But he's gas starved and he's not even mining gas from where he could be, and so his upgrades are going to be behind, and I just don't think he's scouted this tech switch. How many Goliaths on the map? 1, which is usually anti-shuttle. It's 3. He's got 3 Goliaths, not building anymore. I don't think he sees these carriers coming. Sending a lot of vultures out here, and I guess it's not a bad idea to pressure the space. Kwark does wall it in, does add a few cannons. This is just going to buy time, and he can, of course, squash these units from the other side and surround them, which is what he's going to do, although they run headfirst into a heap of mines here. They can't fight because he's not scanning. Carriers are just sort of hidden away here. This is really nicely done. He's picked a smart rally point. You're never going to scan here. GG. So he just basically saw the carriers, I presume, and went, I don't stand a chance. I have not seen that coming, and now I am very, very dead. Okay, so an uneventful end, but a beautiful clinic on how to play PvT, an arbiter build, a third base denial, a very, very sneaky and well done 5th base in the other main that Terran wouldn't expect to have, and then of course last but not least the sneaky carrier switch, of which Terran didn't scout and didn't expect. A very, very strong demonstration there by Kwark. I'm Rabbit Drew, a variety brood forecaster casting on a regular basis. If you enjoyed this cast, please do subscribe to the channel, and until next time, ciao for now.